Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Mike.
I'm Dan.
And this is Board Game Rundown. And today we are going to do a review of Wreck Raiders from Kids Table Board Games. This plays 1 to 5 players, and it says about 45 minutes. So if you're not playing with Bob, that's probably accurate. But it did take a little bit longer with Teach and stuff like that. But in Wreck Raiders, what we're doing is we're all divers right on this reef here, and there's a bunch of wrecks. We're going to raid them. And by doing that, we need to take the box lid here, and we're going to take all the dice, and as the rules say, roll them enthusiastically, which with Mike involved like some wrestling voices and stuff.
Oh, yeah, brother.
So then
It's
what we do is if the die is not touching like a shell type, then it goes off to this blank area, but that is just touching. It just has to barely touch or be in there completely. Either way. Now we've populated the board that way, and then on your turn, everybody's gonna select a die, and if it has a shell or a starfish, you're gonna gain that when you take the die, and then you're going to take one of your divers and assign it to that numbered space, the number of the die on the board. That could be next in a wreck, it could be up on the beach, and it's gonna give you a thing. You cannot bump yourself in the water, and if you pull a guy from a wreck to play to play, you cannot go to the same wreck you were just in.
Yeah.
So but I could take a guy from a different wreck or not pooled. You know what I mean? If I took the 6, I could do this and I could go here. And then why would I do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to get one of these treasures, and then the people adjacent to you are also going to get treasures. So if it is only your own, like I would get 3 treasures from that. Mm-hmm. Bueno. If this was here, I'd get 2, and this player would get 1. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take those treasures over to your player board, and you've got your exhibit set up, and then your vault. And so the exhibit, you're basically laying them out to try to match patterns that are on these cards. You don't have to match it, but you do get a bonus if you have them in this exact order. The other option is to just have these in any order. You don't get the bonus, but you'll still qualify for the points at the end of the game. And on those cards, also, in a 4-player game, 4 of those exhibits triggers the end game. The other thing you can do is you can place it in your vault. You're going to get points for having a row that is all the same color, and then you're also going to get an additional point for each unique piece that is in your vault. And then in the exhibit side, you have to basically, you can put it in any row you want, but you have to build from left to right. And then on the vault side, you have to start from the bottom.
And now it's here.
And now you can go up. Yep.
I was trying to get that.
So anyways, and that's basically what you're trying to do. You can come up here, you can get shells. The shells are going to give you different abilities. You can spend those shells to use their special abilities, like change pips on die, claim extra treasures from where you placed your diver, make an exhibit fancier. To get bonus points.
Yep.
And then you could also trade them in to get these aquariums. Now, aquariums, you have to have at least 1 base, and then you can build up as many middle pieces as you want, and then you can cap it off with the top. Once you put a top on it, you can't build on that one anymore, but that is going to give you like a unique multiplier, bonus. And that's going to be based on the symbols that are inside your aquarium. So it's going to they don't have to be on each tile, just the total amount of tiles, depending on the bonus.
And you can have as many aquariums as you want, as long as you have bases for them all, and you can keep building them up.
Right.
Yeah. And you still get points from them whether they're topped or not.
Correct.
Because thematically the water would spill out if you had no base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just checking.
In the photos, they would for sure.
Yes.
In the photo, they totally would because there's no bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Fun point. Yeah. Basically, everybody goes until all the die have been selected, and then we can, and then you just keep going. You keep going until somebody has claimed the amount of exhibits that triggers the end of the game. So that varies on player count. In our game, it was 4. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, the other rules thing I would kind of point out is, so there was 4 players, there was 5 dice. So whoever went first did get an extra die, but then on the start of the next person's turn, when there's no die left in the reef, they would then take all the dice, roll them, they would get first pick on what they
Which
are.
means
But so,
they would get 2 dice.
correct, which means they get 2 dice that time. So when you're first player, you do get 2 dice to everybody's 1, but it goes around, everybody does have a chance to get the 2 dice at a time.
And then the other thing, at the end of the game, when somebody claims that 4th exhibit, it does say everybody gets one more turn.
Yep.
So it doesn't even matter like, oh, well, I was first player or,
Right.
I was last player and I end the
Right.
game. Because some games it's like everybody gets the same amount of turns. Not this game.
Yeah.
Bob actually got an extra turn, which I do believe gave him the game.
Right, because
did.
really how the turn structure works in this game, it's almost like once the game starts, there are no rounds. It's
Right,
just that
just
once there's
keeps
out of
playing.
dice, that person re-rolls and they will now get 2 dice because
Correct.
of how the dice work. So
Right.
it's not even like there's rounds, okay, now I'm first player. There isn't really a first player. It's just whoever's the active player. It's
Right.
like, yeah, it's interesting how that affects things.
It is. It is. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how the game is played. Let's get into what we thought of it. Mike.
That's you.
That's me.
Hey,
Would
would you like
you-
to make like a joke that we crap on really quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, brother.
What'd you think of Rec Raiders?
Rec Raiders is pretty good. I like the set collecting that's going on. I like how you're trying to put guys in a advantageous spot on the board, but also in a place that maybe you see other players are going to go because you can get those bonus goods if they play something next to you. I did enjoy that. What didn't feel as good to me though is all the stuff I'm just left over that doesn't score. So like all of my exhibits are going to score. I'll get extra points if I'm able to put conch shells on those immediately. Like this one is an extra 2. Every completed row of the same color is points. Every different picture is a point. All of these are nothing. And so maybe that's just me as a new player. I should have pivoted to grabbing this stuff, which would have allowed me to get more aquariums, or I could have used these for wilds at the end of the game. But instead, I was left with, because it was like a mad dash to get exhibits at the end of the game. And so I was left with, I'm working towards exhibits. And I know that happened to Dan like multiple times throughout the game. This is hate draft the game. Not really, but you're collecting sets and you see other people going to those sets. And it's like, you want to try to pivot to, oh man, Tim's going to beat me to that one, so I better go for a different one. Well, shoot, I've already got the stuff collected for that. Well, I can try to mitigate that with wilds, but sometimes you're going so far out of your way to get wilds to mitigate that you feel like stuff is happening right before it's your turn and there's nothing you can do about it. And so I also found it a little interesting that there's no compensation for going third or fourth in this game. So like everybody's getting their choice of stuff, and then like the third or fourth player is like, oh, well, I guess I'm stuck with the dice that don't get me any shells or
It doesn't give me a bonus,
starfish,
right.
which is a bit surprising because player order makes a big difference in this game. People are going to go for the same stuff. And so I felt like there should have been more I could have done with these that are left over, whether it's additional points somehow or being able to use these. But like, these are all the things I collected that were like nothing for me at the end of the game. And that didn't necessarily feel that good. So I just wanted to point that out because as a new player, I could see you getting screwed over by the player order and getting stuck with stuff that you couldn't use. But I like the game. I want to play it more. And I think I could avoid that. Having played it once, I would collect different things at the end of the game instead of these because everyone was going for those. So that was my thoughts on it so far.
Bobby.
Yeah, I kind of feel what you're saying there, Mike. Right? I mean, you ended up getting a lot of bonus resources. It felt like everybody was like going next to you, so you were putting your people in advantageous spots and whatnot. But the die roll is so random on where they're going to land in the box, and that gives you those bonus resources. There were a lot of times when it was like, oh, 1 die is in a box, but then there's 4 dice not in a box.
We've literally had one time where all of the die, like there was no
Nothing.
bonus die.
Yeah. I don't think there was enough enthusiasm in that roll
I agree.
that caused that.
We were definitely doing better when I was doing the Macho Man roll.
It
did
help-
help.
It helps.
It did
Yeah,
help.
off the top
Stuck.
rope with the die, yeah, it does help. But I found this very interesting, right? The placement of those and the bump. I like worker placements where you can bump people to get workers back and whatnot. Putting them on the beach to gain those shells, to try to build your aquarium in the best way you can, to try to get those bonus points from the top. I thought that was interesting. I kept forgetting about the special abilities, so don't forget about the special abilities, especially like trading the clam items to gain an extra piece. That would have been.
And they do put it on your player board.
It's on the player board, so that's player error, right? I mean, I did end up winning, which for the record, I would have got 2 extra points. I forgot to have my 2 points from that guy being up there.
This is what we have to deal with.
It is.
Correct my BG.
I did wind up winning, which, by the way, I should have won by more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But I did find it weird though that I did get to go first, and then I did get that extra turn.
Yeah, I
at
didn't
the
like that at
end.
all. I did not like
so,
that at
like,
all.
We'll have to double. I was kind of looking here real quick just to make sure we didn't miss it, but it did say when somebody takes 4, everybody gets an extra turn. It didn't say finish the round.
Right, because of there's no first player in the game.
Right,
Again, it kind of
yeah.
comes back to that whole thing.
So and like Dan chose a die after Tim had gotten it, which was the last one, and so Mike got to roll a fresh set of dice, and he took one action, I took an action, and then that was
And
it.
then again, that was even more beneficial because now the potential to have like
Right.
good dice,
which is what happened
options.
because I was able to spend
Right.
those to gain things.
Right.
So
Yeah, I didn't.
it'll be interesting to
I did not
try
love
that
that.
with more players alternating who went first to see if like the first player does tend to win more often. But yeah, it was still fun though. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I wouldn't mind playing again. I like set collection. I do like going for like those trophies and trying to get them in the right order to get those bonuses to try to maybe combo and get 2 of them in one round. The rule book didn't seem very bad. Tim
It's
learned
not
it out of the
bad.
rule book and kind of taught us, and then I like to go through there as we're playing to make sure that we're doing things right. But the things were in odd places to find. Like when we were looking for the because the first time we went around, we weren't taking that last die. We weren't sure how
Oh,
that worked.
right,
and we
right.
found that in an odd spot where it says when
Yeah.
it comes to your turn, if there's no dice left, then you re-roll them and go like, oh, okay, so yeah, we do take that last 5th die.
Right.
So that was odd, but
It's just different
Yeah.
than other like I think, because a lot of times we as gamers have played a lot of games.
right.
We
So we
kind
make
of
assumptions.
we kind of go off of how other games have played.
Right.
And so this is unique in that way.
Correct. Yep. But I say I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I do like worker placement types of games, even when it's somewhat random and whatnot. But the neat thing, like I saw Dan do, so when I started working toward it, we had 2 workers kind of one space apart. Then I'm like, oh yeah, get that die. Then I was able to put a guy between there and gain 3 resources of one thing to fill up my my vault with 3 of identical resources, and that was fun. So
Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, the spatial element here is my favorite part of the game for sure. I think the board part is very well designed in like the fun aspect, which is obviously completely subjective. But controlling this is fun. Again, I point out this. I really like being able to get that and then just leaving those guys there because unless they're booted, I will always gain a bonus whenever someone goes there in that position, whether it's myself or not. And trying to manipulate that, or I had a situation at one point where I literally had this at one point. And so being able to like, okay, I got to do something. So I'll pick this guy up and I'll go somewhere. And then next time I'll get a 2 and I'll go right there and gain 3 again, right? Which is how I did this ridiculous thing you can see right here. I kind of made a mini game for myself. I was like, I'm just going to make this one color and have fun with it. So this board is very interesting. I'll also point out a random thing. Evidently, the yellow crown treasure sucks because out of all 4 of our player boards, there's 1.
yeah,
Hi.
So I don't know why, but that
just worked
happened.
out that way. Yeah.
Okay. This game has stuff in it that's just not for me. That I'm very open talking about on our show quite often. I don't like. Very rarely, I'll say, do I like these goals that everyone's working towards that are sitting on the table. Most games just don't do it well to me because you have that feeling of I just spent 5 turns working towards someone that is now useless and I have to completely change everything I'm doing, which is why I just started working on this because I was like, okay, well, literally for at least the first half of the game, I didn't get a single one of these because I would have all 3, or I would have 3 of the 4 and then someone else would take it, or I would have all 4, but then like someone else's turn happened because when we first started, we were playing it wrong. And like, so certain things were happening that just made all this it didn't feel good. And that's kind of in the aquarium too, but that doesn't matter as much. Like, because while the aquarium, you could not build the most efficient aquarium, you're getting points no matter what. So it's not like this where it's like you could spend a time getting 5 things, and then if someone takes the one that was 5, there is a 5. So if I got all this and then someone took it, that is a lot of time you spent working on that. It just feels like you get nothing for it. There was one time where I spent 3 stars to make my entire thing wild just so I could score a thing because I was just like, well, I'm scoring something this
Well,
turn.
I literally like Mike had 4 of those brown
Yep.
trophies, right?
Yep.
Treasures. I had 3.
Yep.
There was an exhibit that was for 5.
Yep.
I got a trophy and I spent,
you spent the
a
shell
thing to take
a
to
second
snake
one.
it from him.
Yeah.
I knew that was not a nice thing to do.
No, yeah,
but it's a legit move.
Right, and it's
for points.
it's the game, and it's 100% in the game. I'm just letting you know it's there because again, I don't like stuff like that. Mike described it as hate draft the game lightly, and I feel that as well, and I don't like that. I don't like when games are like extremely mean, where you're just constantly stealing from other players. Then mixed on top of that, the randomness of the dice and stuff. Again, it's all done on purpose. There's nothing here that I feel like is poorly designed. They knew exactly what they were doing, and what they were doing is not for me personally. I don't tend to like things like that. I like spatial stuff, and I think they did a great job with the map here. I think even the left to right, bottom to top thing here feels good while you're doing it. I purposely did it inefficiently over here, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on, and I think people, I say will like this game, but I know this has been out for like people have reviewed it, and people do tend to like it. And I can totally see why. It's just when you pile it all together, it's a game that I would probably pass on playing again. It's Wreck Raiders. This isn't exactly for Dan.
One of the other things that's unfortunate is that as you're building towards those and somebody does take that, you can't just discard those. You have to spend resources to get rid of them.
Or turn them into other things.
Oh, yeah, or turn them into other things, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it almost would be nice if they had a resource that let you rearrange them. Instead of just discarding.
Right, or clear the whole row instead of
Right,
that.
right.
But
yeah, so there's good and bad in here. I think that for me personally, everything Dan said, I think this is a well-designed game. It makes sense. Everything works. Nothing felt clunky. But even though I stole these points from Mike, like if that had happened to me, I would have not been very happy about it. You know, like I fully acknowledge that. I was trying to end the game because I also felt like this game was taking too long for what it was. That was a problem for me. It's different when we're playing like a really crunchy game and we're going to play for a longer period of time. I know we were all learning, but this game does invoke a lot of AP, right? And a lot of analysis paralysis, even for myself, like where you're just like, okay, well, gosh, like if I go here, I can do this, you know? And yes, you can be limited a little bit, because you only have so many options as far as the dice go, especially if you go later in the round. You might only have 2 to choose from, right? But still, you've got 5 places you can place that die, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes not 5 because you can't bump yourself, whatever. Sure. But still, you still are trying to then, optimize your turn and get stuff, so you can get your points and everything. And that's fine. But for as simple of a game as this was, I think that this is a well-designed game that maybe just isn't for me either. I didn't love it. I think it's good. I mean, there's good things about it. There's definitely really good things about it. It didn't land with me the way I thought it would. I'd heard some really good things about this game going in. I was looking forward to it. I think it's very well made. I like all the bits. Again, the ease of learning, with the exception of like, oh, okay, it's a little quirky because it does this instead of this. I mean, that's not really a knock on it. It just plays different than some other
expected,
and that's fine. That's not a dig on it, but it just didn't. For me, it didn't. I think I would have liked it better maybe if it worked. Like, oh, if this was this instead. I do think, in a way, I do really wonder about that first player thing, like because. And getting the extra die, like basically getting to go twice with no benefit for people going late in the round who get nothing.
Right.
No benefit.
He didn't have an extra time to get the 2 dice.
Yeah, it almost seemed like something along the lines of like the first people, like depending on what die you take, it goes to a second thing, and then that is what's picking the buy order or something.
Yeah,
to where
something.
you can basically say, okay, well I'm going last, but since I'm taking this die, I go first for the buying thing or something like that. Maybe.
And the only issue with that is that like then that adds like a different level of complexity to a game that is not really that complex.
Right, but surprisingly deep for how not complex it is.
Right.
Like,
You're
and I
100%
thought getting
right.
those shells at the end of the game was less important because you were more focused on like, okay, here's this one specific thing I have to try to do because I have one more turn. Whereas at the beginning of the game, where these are very helpful to start building towards those aquariums, that's where I felt like there should have been some later turn order compensation.
And this is like a weird thing for me too, though, because there's things I really do like. Like I thought it was fun building the aquariums.
I like that a lot.
And doing that. I liked this in theory, but for whatever, and this was great too, right? Like Dan's talking about like the the strategy of where you place your divers and stuff, and even like up here, which is like a throwaway space, it's not.
They're so good.
You get great things. You
Good
just have
resources.
to use them.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that you're not only using them for here, but like you're
Their special
you can
abilities.
manipulate
Yeah.
dice, and get extra things, and it's super important. And it's not always, unless you've played this game like 7 times, a bunch of times, to kind of keep all that straight and really remember. And I think if I was teaching new people this game, I would keep
Pointing that out.
pointing that out.
Don't
Like
forget
that's
you can use those shells for other things.
that's a thing. Like make sure you know that that's not just currency over here. You really can use that to, mitigate everything.
Everything.
Get more things, get them faster, and things like that. But still, for whatever reason, this just didn't all gel for me like in a cohesive, good experience or great experience. I think I was fine. I wasn't miserable or anything like that. I don't hate this game or anything. And I definitely see all these really good things that the game does. But, sometimes it just doesn't come together the way that you want it to. And then
some of its pieces don't quite add up.
Right. Yeah, good, well said. But anybody else have anything to add before we give this a rating?
I just wanted to point out again because I really want to overstress
Hi.
that gravity exists. I really want to stress so let's say right, my turn comes up and this is it. Okay, well I'm taking that. Okay, seems like a pretty straightforward choice. This is a really easy game. I'll take this 4. Okay, well it's a 4. Okay, I have 5 places I could put that 4 now.
Right.
Also, by the way, I get a star. Okay, well the star is gonna let me turn it in my thingies into a wild. Okay, that's something I got to take in. Okay, then let's say that I finish this turn somehow because I spent a wild, and then I put this on it. Okay, well that lets me take an extra thingy from where I went. So I'll take an extra thingy. Okay, now I'm going to place an extra thing. Oh, hold on. Now I can get another thing because I got that free one. So now I can create another exhibition by doing that. Okay, well let me think. Now that I created this exhibition, you literally have the most basic choice ever in this game, and there's this web that branches
Yeah.
from
That's good,
that
yeah.
is so much deeper than you think it is when you're playing this game.
It cascades very quickly,
and you don't
potentially.
have to play it that way. I think that's why they say 45 minutes, because the game is straightforward. You place a gun, you take the thing. But if you're a group of thinkers, I
Yeah.
can see people spending 2 hours on this
Yeah.
game, at full player count.
And that's too long.
What's funny is I was going to talk about that same decision that you have to make on your turn. You're looking at that 4 and you're like, okay, I could start working on the crowns. I don't get any bonuses. Nope, there's no exhibit that helps me over here. I can go to the 4 over there where the gem is, but okay, that'll bump Bob. But Bob's
Right.
also going to get one.
If Bob gets
Okay.
one, he's going to be able to complete X.
I got the same
Right.
thing going on over here at the sword. I'm going to bump him. He's also going to get a free sword. Don't want to do that. Can't bump my own guy here. Okay, how good is this stuff? And am I close to getting an aquarium? Yeah, like I said, it's easy, but then you start comparing the options, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
there's a lot to consider on a turn here, and
Yeah.
it does ramp up the AP pretty fast because of that.
Yeah. It just doesn't come to for me, a satisfying conclusion.
Sure.
But I, again.
I think it's the leftover stuff that I'm like, well, how many turns did I spend getting this stuff
Right.
that gave me that feeling? But I agree with the sentiment. This is the best part of the game. I
Yeah.
really like this.
Yeah, that's
and
neat.
I do like. I
The
like how
big
these
aquariums,
look
yeah.
when you're building
Building
them
them
up.
together,
It looks cool. It
The
feels
graphic design
thematic.
on it's really good.
Yeah, the graphic design on all their games is
Oh,
excellent.
it's beautiful. Yeah, 100%.
But this, a little bit left me wanting because of all this stuff I couldn't do anything with.
Right.
Sure.
Spend those turns building it up for nothing.
For Tim to be a jerk and take it from me.
Oh, jerk.
I
I was
fully
appreciative of that.
I fully acknowledge. I mean,
From the top rope.
yeah. All right, guys, let's give this a rating. Dan,
Hi.
how's that work?
So we're each going to give the game a rating 1 through 10. Then we're going to average them all at the end so that Board Game Rundown has 1 rating on Board Game Geek and Discord and stuff like that. But we all want to give our individual scores first in case you agree with a certain play style that we have.
All right, Mike, what's your number, sir?
It's a 7.
Okay.
I don't think it's bad. It's not one I'd want to put in my collection. I would play it again because I think I could do things differently and still build these up at the end of the game. Maybe being more aware of who's going to beat me to some of those exhibitions that I want, and maybe go a little bit more aquarium focused with the shells and whatnot. So it's a 7. I think it's pretty good, and I would play it again, but it's not one I'd put in my collection.
Bobby.
I echo Mike's sentiments exactly. I would play it again. It's not one I feel like I have to own, but I would like to play it again to try some different things. It's a 7 for me as well.
Daniel.
I'm gonna go with. I was between a 5.5 and a 6. I'm gonna go with a 6. It is not a bad game. It is well designed. It's just not for me. And the main point I'm just trying to say, like I've said throughout this video, is if you like the look and the mechanics of the game, but you were worried it was gonna be too light, don't worry.
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
get the depth out of this game.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm gonna land on a 6 for now. It's fine to me.
It's a 7. There's a good game here. It just doesn't land with me, but I do appreciate the design and all the production value and everything. I think that there is value here. If this appeals to you, you can get a lot of plays out of this. I think you'll find a lot of different strategies you can try to work. I'd be interested to see, like, is running the aquariums, going hard after the aquariums, a better strategy or a stronger strategy than like focusing on the vaults? Or do you try to go all 3, right? You do your exhibits too. I definitely would play it again. I'm not going to like drop it out on the table and be like, guys, we got to play this game. Definitely not there. I'd play it again. I could feel better about it, but like if I play it again and it still takes an hour and a half, I'm out. Like for this game, it's too long for what that does. Maybe it would go faster because now we would all know the rules, and maybe just teaching 1 or 2 people wouldn't be as bad. But that's it for me.
So if you take all of our scores and we average them together, 6.8. Yeah.
Okay.
Not bad.
Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing if there's like expansions planned and stuff and see what they do with it. Because again, I think they got
More decisions.
they got very good base of the aquarium here, and I'd like to see how they build on top of it.
I
More
see
middle.
what you- I see
Yeah,
what you-
more middle. I'd like more middle,
more
please.
middle.
More middle.
And then a little bit of something on top.
I just I don't know. Yeah. So that's Rec Raiders, guys. I think it's kind of interesting because I wasn't really sure where we were all going to be
Fall. Yeah.
with it, really, because we played it and then we just basically saved the whole conversation about it for this. And that's kind of fun sometimes to just kind of like, oh, well, I thought maybe you had a better time with it than this. But yeah, it's kind of fun to see. And just so everybody knows, we were sent this game by Kids Table Board Games. Obviously, we're going to give it our honest opinion because
That's what we do.
that's what we do. And so if you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and doing all of those things because it helps us. Please comment on the video. Let us know what you think of Rec Raiders or what did we get wrong or, what was something we
Did we
overlooked.
miss something? Yeah.
Yeah, because it happens sometimes. Another thing, we do have a Patreon. If you'd like to support the show, help us continue making hopefully what you would think is great content, you can do that as well. But even just interacting with us and the like, subscribe, hang out with us on our Discord. It's all awesome, and we're really grateful for it.
And Mike, I want to point out your Patreon ad earlier in this video was very funny. I liked it.
Oh,
look
thank
at-
you.
Look at that.
I don't know which one it was.
Call it a shot. Call it
I
a
recorded
shot.
like 10 of them. We need to use them.
Yeah, we just put them all in one video.
All in
Good.
one
It was
video.
this one.
Sweet.
That was 10
all
minutes
of
of
this.
Patreon
That was the only way
videos.
we could get a funny one was to play all of them.
It's like you throw a dart at a wall and then you paint the dartboard around
There
it.
you go.
You're like, oh, I got a bullseye.
That's how you do it.
Perfect.
Nailed it. Yeah.
All right, guys, for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
I'm rolling enthusiastically, brother.
Dan.
We'll see you next time.